This is going to be the Breakout with my friend Deborah, Enos, and you see here as she's a certified nutritionist and executive health coach. I want to read you her bio, but before I even read her formal bio, I can give you a personal bio, and that is Deb is just a great friend. She is just a great encourager. You'll see her on Q13 a lot, doing all kinds of nutritional segments, but she was encouraging me. We were together recently all about microgreens. We were talking about microgreens. I even drank what was that thing I drank? A green smoothie. I drink it, and I'm still living, so there you go, a green smoothie. But this is what it says about Deb, that she's a certified nutritionist and nationally known healthy living expert. She's a regular on Q13, Fox News, NBC, and CBS, and it is the 1-minute wellness coach for the Doctor's TV show. Deborah's designed health coaching programs for executives at Costco, Boeing, and Amazon. She holds a degree in health science with special study and certification in exercise science. She has additional certifications from American Health Science University and the American College of Sports Medicine. Deborah is a cancer survivor, a very recent cancer survivor. I think she'll share a little about that later. And also, we want to make sure people know, maybe you could tell them your Instagram, so because they can follow you. She gives all kinds of tips all the time on Instagram. But would you welcome my friend Deb Enos?
Good morning. How's the volume in the back? Okay? Okay. All right, so I haven't spoken in front of people in 14 months. I'm wearing high heels and makeup. This is a really good day. It's a good day. So I have 25 minutes to teach you how to have 25% more energy for the rest of your life. Are we on for this ride? Can we all be in? So I am an executive health coach. I also used to work with the musical group Metallica. So someday, when I have more time, I will tell you about being a health coach for Metallica. But I will say that I was in my country music phase, so I had no idea who they were until I cashed their check. And the bank teller is like shaking his hand, and he said, "Do you know who this is?" And I said, "No, I don't." And I think I've heard a couple of Metallica songs, but anyway, so if you're a big fan, we'll talk. So I am a certified nutritionist, executive health coach. I work for Q13 News. Recently, my breast cancer journey was featured on national news, which was so shocking. A station called News Nation with the anchor I used to work with at Q13, Marnie Hughes. And I think the biggest shock about having breast cancer is I've been eating healthy for 30 years. And I was saying to Pastor Cheryl this morning, I should have eaten more hot dogs. Maybe that would have protected me somehow. But if you have a breast cancer survivor in your life, or somebody who's recently diagnosed, come and see me. I would love to help them. But today's talk is all about how we can increase our energy, lower stress risk, lower all risk of most diseases, and honestly, in this season of COVID, how do we have enough energy to stay in the game? I'm exhausted. I don't know about the rest of you, and cancer aside, I'm just exhausted. Watching the news and being on the news and having to, listen to it all the time, it's stressful. And social media is not your friend right now, and I will get on and I post and go is what I call it, because I still want to get my nutrition message out, but I just don't want to read everybody's opinion. So if I can just encourage you to take a social media fast, I'm also going to be talking about intermittent fasting, but even social media fasting, news fasting, it's amazing what that can do for your health. But back to my main purpose of being here, which is to really show you how to change your life through what you're eating. So what I want to talk about is how you can be high performance all day long. And I don't know about you, but COVID has not done a lot for my performance. We talk about the COVID-19. This is COVID-5. This is 5 pounds of fat. I know. I thought I'd just get this out of the way early so you can see my 5 pounds of fat. I will tell you it's difficult to go through TSA with this. I get pulled out of the line every time. So I actually have a smaller 1 pound of fat, and I get busted less often with 1 pound of fat. But many of us have had the COVID-19, and what I'm talking about that is the weight gain of COVID. We've been eating so many comfort foods, and we are not eating in a high performance way. So I want to talk about how to turn your brain on as soon as you wake up in the morning, and how to add foods to your day that's really going to turn you into a high performance person. And there we go. So protein is your friend. I have so many clients who, when they first start working with me, when I ask them about their typical breakfast, and they'll say, I'm eating oatmeal. Isn't that great? And I think, no, oatmeal. Okay, there's things you can do to oatmeal to make it a high-performance food. But if I'm going to be speaking at a conference, talking about Jesus somewhere, or just trying to be a nice person, oatmeal's not my friend. Bagels are not my friend. English muffins are not my friend. Protein is your high-performance game changer. It is going to help you to really level up to that next place in your life where you have more energy. And again, you have 25% more energy for your entire day. These are some of my favorite sources. Wild fish. I'm not a fan of farmed fish. Farmed fish has a lot of chemicals in it that I don't have the time to go into. But one of the #1 chemicals is flame retardant. You don't need flame retardant in your fish. And one of my friends said, if there's flame retardant in it, how do you cook it? That is a really good point. I'm not sure how that works. But wild fish, and if it's not part of your food budget, frozen fish is fine. And you know one of my favorite ways to get fish? Canned salmon. So when I make tuna salad, I'll do 1 can of tuna, 1 can of salmon. Salmon has so few chemicals in it when it's wild salmon, including not having a lot of mercury in it. When you combine it with tuna and you put all the other goodies in it, nobody will ever know. Eggs, another high-performance game changer. Pretty much always my breakfast is going to be eggs or chicken sausage or even bacon. I am a nutritionist who loves bacon, so we'll talk more about that. Grass-fed beef, lamb, and collagen. I'm going to talk about my morning routine with my coffee, which involves collagen. Plant-based options, if you plant-based. I'm just going to say right now, I am not a vegan. I'm not a vegetarian. I like to eat things that used to have a mother. So I grew up on a farm, and I eat animals, and I'm okay with it. And there are reasons why we need to eat animals. God put them on the earth for a reason. And especially when we live in a darker climate, getting that full profile of amino acids that comes from animals, really, really important. But plant-based options, I still eat at least 1 plant-based meal every day. Beans and lentils, chickpeas, nuts and seeds are all really, really good options. Huge fan of the top 2 there, which is lentils and beans. They are really high in magnesium. And if there's one thing we've all realized during COVID is stress levels are really off the charts. Magnesium is a mineral that's almost like getting a massage from the inside out. It helps to relax your muscles. If you ever get that eye twitch, which comes from stress, or you're just running, getting that eye twitch, having more magnesium in your diet will help that eye twitch to go away. It also helps you to sleep better, which who couldn't, enjoy a little bit more sleep and more restful sleep. All right, so let's talk about what I look for on a food label when it comes to protein. So you really need to look at 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight. So go online and you can figure that out. When it comes to snacking, I like to see you eat at least 1.3 grams of protein per kilogram, 3 to 6 grams for a snack. Meals 7 to 15 grams, and across the bottom it's going to talk about if you're a moderate activity level person or a higher activity level person. The higher your activity, the more protein you need to a point. I'm not talking about getting 30 grams of protein at a meal. That's just overkill at that point. So again, this is what I look for in a food label. If you're not having at least 7 to 15 grams of protein for a meal, you'll be hungry again in about an hour. And you can tell, you don't need me to tell you when it's time to eat, but what I am saying is if you have lunch and an hour and a half later you're hungry, that wasn't lunch, that was a snack. So you need to figure out how you can stay full for at least 3 to 4 hours. That's what a meal is going to look like. So let's talk about what I eat in a day. So first of all, I'm a big fan of fasting. I know it's biblical. I'm not a good faster as far as when it comes to eating, not eating for an entire day. What I'm a fan of is intermittent fasting. Has anybody heard of intermittent fasting? Okay, so there's lots of great information on the internet about this, but one of my favorite ways to do it is actually called time-restricted eating. So I basically quit eating after dinner, which, can I tell you, oh my gosh, I was an epic nighttime snacker. Ask my husband. I'd finish dinner and I'd go over to the pantry and like getting into all the bags. I could eat half of a bag of Skinny Pop, you know, the Costco, which is like the size of a 3-year-old. I could eat half a bag in a night, but then I'd add butter to it. So it's like, okay, is this really Skinny Pop, or am I just taking Skinny Pop? And anyway, I have some issues. And so I would eat from the time I finished dinner all the way up until I went to bed. So the fastest way, if you want to regain your health, is to check out intermittent fasting. So I stop eating after dinner, which is about 7 p.m., and then I don't eat again until the next day between 10 and 11 a.m. So basically my fast is about 15 to 16 hours. There is so much research supporting intermittent fasting. So first of all, you can start to get rid of your COVID-5 or COVID-10 or whatever that is. Intermittent fasting and weight loss is probably the #1 thing to do. So 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with GERD, which is acid reflux. And one of the reasons I got it is that I would eat all the way up until I went to bed, and then I'd lay down flat, and then of course, you know, that acid can start to come up. So my doctor said, look, you know, you're just eating way too much at night. It's time for you to really cut back. So I finished my dinner, and then it was painful, I'll admit, for the first couple of months, but now I'm just in the habit of I don't eat after dinner. And not only did my GERD symptoms improve, but I lost 25 pounds. And it just happened so quickly because I just wasn't filling myself up with so much food in the evening. So intermittent fasting is great for weight loss. The other thing that it does is it helps you with blood sugar regulation. So my blood work was showing that I was kind of getting into this zone of having some blood sugar issues, pre-diabetes. And so with this intermittent fasting, all of a sudden my blood sugars are perfectly normal. So some really great research has found that with intermittent fasting, with again, not eating for 15 to 16 hours, just overnight, what happens is it can drop your blood sugar by about 15% and drop insulin by almost 60%. So those are some amazing numbers, and there's no pill on the market that is going to drop your blood sugars by 15%. So again, all I'm asking is to not eat after dinner and just to delay your breakfast a little bit. Intermittent fasting has also been shown to cause something called cell autophagy, which I know that's my big $10 word of the morning. But cell autophagy is basically your bad cells are going to commit suicide. So they are going to self-die, which means those cells that might be turning into cancer, those cells that are going to be causing other health issues in your body, those are going to die off, and then your really healthy cells are going to really go to the next level and again really level up and become stronger. Also, intermittent fasting has been shown to really turn your brain on and help protect your memory and also to protect you from Alzheimer's and senile dementia. So the list is long of how intermittent fasting can be helpful. But let's talk about what I'm eating in a day. So I start my morning with something called bulletproof coffee. So I have a cup of coffee, I add a little bit of collagen to it. So collagen, I just picked this up at Costco. It's called Vital Proteins. You can get a huge container, I don't know, maybe $20. It'll last me for at least a month, if not a month and a half. Put a couple of scoops in my coffee. All of a sudden, my coffee, instead of just being a substance that's not going to do very much for my body, now what's happening is I've given myself so much protein, it's basically the equivalent of having 2 eggs in the morning. So now instead of my energy kind of slowly percolating up, now I've gone from I'm out of bed and I am up and I am on. But I'm on without the challenge of having to digest an English muffin or digest a container of yogurt, which basically what happens is when your body's busy digesting, the blood is here, it's not in your brain. And when I get up in the morning and I really want to turn my brain on and I want to turn my energy on, I want to really crank up that protein without giving my stomach a lot of things to have to work on. And then about 10 a.m., I will have brunch. So I usually have eggs and maybe some sauteed greens or some sauteed broccoli. Lunch, about 2 o'clock, maybe a little salad with some salmon. Pastor Cheryl's had my famous green smoothie. She can attest that it's actually pretty good. And even Pastor Steve had a couple of sips, and he was not totally grossed out. Maybe the first day. But anyway, so green smoothie in the afternoon. What I love about my green smoothie is it is literally a salad in a glass. So if you start to get to the point where you just think, oh my gosh, I cannot get in very many green vegetables, go on my website, you'll see a link for my green smoothie, and it's absolutely delicious, if I do say so myself. Dinner is wrapped up by 7 o'clock, and then the rest of the evening I'll just drink tea. So the great thing about tea and having warm beverages, studies show that when you have a warm beverage, it basically kills your appetite. So if you're looking for a way to try to kill those nighttime cravings, having a cup of tea in the evening will help to really distract you, but it actually does help to kill your appetite if you're still hungry. And there I go. Now I'm feeling better. I'm not hungry anymore. So let's move on to my favorite brunches. Sometimes I'll have lettuce wraps where I'll have maybe some smoked salmon, maybe avocado on it. I have my coffee. Hard-boiled eggs and avocados may not sound, very glamorous, but maybe grab a piece of toast, put a couple of sliced eggs on top, a little bit of avocado. It's that fat and that protein combination that you have at 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning that really turns your brain on, really turns your energy on, and can help you to stay focused and energized for probably the next 4 hours. So it's not that it's the intermittent fasting that's necessarily giving you the energy. Where the energy is coming from is that brunch, that 10 or 11 a.m. in the morning where you're having a good healthy dose of fat and a good healthy dose of protein, really limiting your carbs. So you can see that I don't have oatmeal on my list. If you're a huge fan of oatmeal, you'd have to add maybe a couple of tablespoons of peanut butter or maybe some more nuts to it to really increase the protein enough to knock down the carb content. So when I'm talking about food labels, so most Americans are eating way too much sugar, and I used to be on the board of directors of the American Heart Association, and we were a very conservative organization when it came to sugar, and we used to tell people that women can have 6 packets in a day, and men get 9 packets a day. And that is just purely based on body size. So if you're a smaller person, you're probably going to be closer to the 5 or 6 packets a day. And when I drop out my sugar packets like this, most people say, oh my gosh, I would never have that much sugar in a day. Let me tell you, so if you go to Starbucks and you have a pump of flavoring, that is 1.5 packets of sugar for 1 pump of flavoring. So start to look at your sugar grams. 4 grams equal 1 packet of sugar. So when you're looking at your labels, again, 4 grams, 1 packet of sugar. Fiber, most of us are consuming so little fiber, we really need to have 40 to 50 grams a day. Fiber serves so many purposes, one of which, you're intelligent people, I don't need to tell you what fiber is good for. But here's the other way that fiber is helpful, is it draws cholesterol out of your body. And it also draws other toxins out of your body. So the higher your fiber content, usually just the cleaner you are from a detoxing standpoint. And so I'm going to wrap up with food, and we're going to get into a little bit of stress management. So again, as I've mentioned, I'm a fan of the intermittent fasting. It's not for you if you're pregnant or if you're nursing. Talk to your doctor before you try it, but start small. Again, just try not eating after dinner, and I think you'll be so encouraged by that, and you'll be so encouraged by the way that you sleep. Most of us go to bed so full, and our blood is so busy digesting that it never really gives our brain a chance to just turn off. And one of the great things about fasting from a spiritual perspective is that it really gives your body and your mind a chance to rest. And it really works the same thing if we're looking at it from a health standpoint, is when you're not eating, it gives your body a chance to say, oh, this is great. Now I can focus on other things. I can focus on repairing her heart. I can focus on, repairing his broken ankle. Your body can really focus on what it needs to if it's not busy digesting food all the time. Well, I have 5 minutes at the end to answer questions because I'm sure you'll have some, but I wanted to quickly go through some stress management issues. Again, we all have some stress that we can work on handling right now. One of the topics at the bottom, which are the 3 foods that I'd love to see you include on a daily basis: asparagus, avocados, and probiotics. Huge fan of probiotics, and you can get these from fermented foods like kimchi and kombucha and yogurt. But you can also take supplements. What I love about having a healthy gut, because you're eating fermented foods or you're taking probiotics, is your gut is your second brain. So when your gut is happy, your brain is happy. When you take more probiotics, it can boost your immune system. 70% of your immune system is actually in your gut, if you can believe that. During the season of COVID, of course, we want to be as immune resistant as we possibly can. So I recommend probiotics or fermented foods daily. Again, it can really help with stress management. And then green vegetables. So asparagus is considered a green leafy vegetable. It's going to have a lot of B vitamins. And when we live in that darker climate, having more B vitamins can just help our neurotransmitters to connect and talk a little bit more, so that helps to lower your stress levels. And then the fat from avocados. Can I tell you, back in the 90s when I was a nutritionist, I would tell my clients, okay, you can have a sliver, like the size of your pinky, of avocado every day. And now we realize fat is not the enemy. So now I'm telling my clients, have a whole avocado. I don't care. It's really good for your brain, and it's really good for lowering stress levels. And again, having more fat in your diet makes your brain happy. And it also just, again, helps those neurotransmitters to really communicate. Become a better breather. I'm actually going to end with this one, and then I'm going to answer questions. At the end, I have another slide, so you can follow me on social media, Instagram, and so on and so forth. But while you're sitting here, I want you to sit up straight, both feet on the floor, and just take a couple of deep breaths. Okay, now I want you to put your hand on your stomach and your other hand on your chest, and take those same deep breaths again. Okay, so could anybody get their top hand to move? Raise your hand if you got your top hand to move. Okay, so you're breathing wrong. So your chest should really not be moving at all when you're taking a deep breath. You have very little lung tissue. You've got a teeny tiny bit up in here. The majority of your lung tissue is here. So when you're breathing, so I kind of tricked you because I was doing this, I'm sorry. So when you're breathing, it's really your stomach that should be doing most of the activity. Your shoulders should never lift up. This is called rescue breathing, and that's what you do when maybe you're having a panic attack or you're having an asthma issue. But again, most of your lung tissue is here. So let's try this again. Hand on the stomach. Inhale. Let that stomach pooch out on the inhale and flatten on the exhale. And now I'm going to take you through a breathing that has been well researched. It's called the 4-7-8 breath. And what happens is that when you breathe this way, you actually need to not do it very often because it can really relax you. So you shouldn't do this when you're driving. But it's a great thing to do first thing in the morning, or if you have a phone call with maybe somebody who's a little bit of a button pusher in your life. But I've also had physicians tell me that this can stop a panic attack. So I think that that is also just such great information to have in your back pocket. So hand on your stomach. Your tip of your tongue is behind your top 2 teeth. So it's just on the roof of your mouth. And you're going to inhale for 4. Hold for 7, and then exhale for 8. So I'm going to take you through this count. So inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, now just get back into your normal breathing rhythm. So the interesting thing about this, again, I had mentioned that it's been shown to stop panic attacks. And one physician that I highly respect, Dr. Andrew Weil, said that this is actually even more effective than anxiety medications. And I think that this is just a great way for us to end, is that you now have the ability to calm yourself down, lower your blood pressure, lower levels of inflammation, because you know how to be a better and more effective breather. So if all you take away from today is that your stomach needs to move when you're breathing, that's fantastic. I'm thrilled, because if you're a better breather, your stress levels again will be lower, inflammation lower, cortisol, all those stress hormones are going to be lower. And if we look at levels, if we look at professions or hobbies where people live the longest, I think it's interesting that those with the shortest time span are people who are avid scuba divers. So their breathing can be a little bit limited. And those people who are living the longest are opera singers or other types of singers. So they know how to be effective breathers. So you can do this in your car. And again, one hand on the wheel, other hand on your stomach. Don't get fancy, don't do the 4-7-8, just breathing in and out and really letting your stomach pooch out and then flatten on the exhale. So I'm going to go straight to my last slide. So on my website, which is deborah.enos.com, there's going to be on my homepage a link to a masterclass. And I just had my website gal put this on yesterday. So I filmed this masterclass. It's 18 minutes, and you can hop on there and learn more about how to be an effective eater, what types of things you should be buying. And if you follow me on Instagram and Facebook and all those other fun places, I'll take you to Costco and I'll take you to Trader Joe's and show you what I'm eating there. So thank you for your time and attention. And we have 5 minutes for questions. Rebecca.
Can you just mention dairy and where does that fit in or not fit in?
Okay, so the question is dairy, where does that fit in or not fit in? I think it really can't fit in. I'm not a huge fan of dairy because it can make me a little bit phlegmy, and so if you have any kind of a dairy allergy, you'll know when maybe it's not the right thing for you. Tummy ache, excess mucus, but I'm a huge fan of full-fat dairy. I don't want to ever see you at Trader Joe's with non-fat yogurt in your cart. I will take it out and put it away. Have the full fat. Your body and your brain wants full fat. It operates at optimal levels when it has the right fuel. So I'm fine with full fat dairy. I also like cheeses like goat cheese, and so let's not forget our friends the goats, because their goat dairy is much easier to digest. So if you have issues with dairy, try goat. It's a great way to go. And then I'm also a huge fan of ghee. Anybody use ghee? G-H-E-E. Okay, so it's a great fat to cook with, and most of the protein solids have been removed from ghee. So even if you have milk solids, so even if you have a dairy issue, usually cooking with ghee or having ghee will not give you any symptoms. Did that answer your question? Okay, yes.
What are a couple quick grab and eat fiber?
Okay, so a couple of grab and eat fiber. First of all, I'm a huge fan of fiber supplements. Now, most of us are just way too busy during the day to sit down and eat a big bowl full of broccoli. So there's two that I really like. Actually, there's really one that I like right now. It's called Regular Girl. I talk about it a lot on my Instagram. Amazon, you get it on Amazon. If you do get the fiber, like you can go to Costco and other places where they sell it, just make sure there's not a lot of junk in it. And so there really should only be a couple of ingredients. So if it looks like a science project, disregard. Probably my favorite way from a food standpoint, refried beans. Okay, so I always have cans of refried beans. I have an Instant Pot as well. Sometimes I just don't get to it. So I get Trader Joe's refried beans. If I'm gonna make eggs for breakfast, I also just, in my pan, I've got eggs over here, I've got refried beans over here, refried beans on the plate, eggs on top. You just increase your fiber by probably 8 grams and also increase the protein content by 6 or 7. So beans are probably my favorite way. Broccoli, cruciferous vegetables. I'm not a fan of eating cruciferous vegetables uncooked. cauliflower, cabbage, broccoli. It's kind of tough to digest, so I will saute or barbecue broccoli over the weekend, and then I'll just snack on it throughout the day. Those are probably my favorite ways, yeah. But I think a salad, just lettuce, is not your friend when it comes to fiber. It's everything you put on it that really is going to increase the fiber content. And question in the back.
How can scuba divers increase their life as long as they're not pursuing?
So become a singer. So talk to Carrie about worship. And that'll be a great way. So what you need to do is, again, just do that breathing. So when my alarm goes off in the morning, turn my alarm off, I immediately put my hand on my stomach, and I'll take about 7 to 10 deep breaths before I even get into bed. It's a great way to hang out with Jesus, and I just do my breathing and think about what I'm grateful for. So I start my day with good breath work, and then what I find is that carries over into the rest of my day. And then I sometimes, in the very beginning when I was trying to become a better breather, I would set my alarm on my phone, and every hour just stand there and do my breathing. And you can do it, nobody will know. You can do it on Zoom, you can do it when you're driving. We have time for probably one question. Yes?
Where does chocolate fit in? Where does chocolate fit in?
Okay, so where does chocolate fit in? Great question. So chocolate fits in really well with my program, as long as it's dark and the highest level of cacao that you can find. So I'm not, if it's going to be Reese's peanut butter cups, at least there's protein in the peanut butter, right? So I might have that, but for the most part, I always just have little pieces of dark chocolate, like in the individual, like Halloween size. Because if it's Halloween size, it's the perfect serving size, and you'll have to keep going back to get more, and most of us hopefully won't do that. So I'm fine with a little bit of dark chocolate on a daily basis. And if you really have a sweet tooth, one of my favorite products, also available from Costco. I feel like I'm doing a Costco commercial, but monk fruit, M-O-N-K. It's a red bag. The brand is Lakanto, L-A-K-A-N-T-O. Available at Costco. I do have a sweet tooth, I will admit, and so I will put monk fruit in my coffee in the morning, and sometimes I put monk fruit in my green smoothie if my green smoothie is just a little too earthy. And it doesn't spike your blood sugar, and it's been on the planet for 1,000 years. And so I'm not a fan of sucralose and Splenda and all that other junk, but I am a fan of monk fruit, and it got its name. It's actually called lohan, which is a Chinese fruit, but the monks used to pick it in the 12th century, and that's how it got its name, monk fruit. So there's your crazy nutrition factoid for us to end on. I'll be around all morning if you have more questions, and I just thank you all for coming and attending this talk.
So great. I love Deb. She's fun to get to know. And I'm encouraged because since I live on Mexican food, refried beans are in, so I'm good. So if you need your encouraging word for the day, that's mine. I don't know about you, but I know that Deb's resources are great. I want to make sure you see her Twitter and Instagram, Facebook, and her email or her website as well. Encourage you to go and take advantage of those resources. And Steve and Deb are both an important part of our church, and I just encourage you to get to know them. They are the most friendly people you'll ever meet, and you'll be greatly encouraged by just have a relationship with them, so I encourage you to do that. So here we are, we have a 10-minute break that gets you to make a stop to the restroom if you need to. We're back in for our business panel, which Deb says and Steve's going to be a part of here in just a few moments. But this is going to be a great time to hear from some incredible leaders, and I know that you're going to be really encouraged by it. And I know this day is moving quick, but we're on a shortened half-day conference, so we're in it to win it, and we're going to keep rolling, all right? Thank you all for being here. Thanks again, Deb. Great job.